Hi everyone, this is Gail from Pretty Presets, and this is going to be my last Workflow Wednesday video. And I have two very pretty portraits here that I'm going to try to edit in the same video. Using both of them, I'm going to be using the Clean and Creative set. So for this image, I want to start with a quick clean, center light, contrast. I'm going to skip down to sharpening for females and babies, and then I'm going to add a vignette. And I do those same steps over and over on my images a lot, so you'll see on the next one we do very similar steps. Now I'm going to come over here to the basic panel. I'm going to pull up the vibrance just a little bit, so I want to help just add a tiny bit of color. And now we're going to zoom in and we're going to do some work with brushes. Okay, so one thing I noticed about this, and I'm not sure if it was the lighting or whatever, but she's got a little bit of under eye darkness here that we're going to fix. So let's come over and get our brush tool. We're going to choose Skin Under Eye Circles. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make my brush tool kind of smallish because I'm just going to focus on this area right underneath her eyes. And I'm just going to brush over it. And I'm going to brush on this side as well as on this side. Okay. Now I'm going to click New, and I'm going to do that same thing again. Okay, I'm going to click and brush on the darkness under her eyes. And I can already see something I'm going to have to fix here in just a second. I'm trying to be careful not to get outside of the darkness because I don't want to emphasize it anymore by brightening the areas that are already bright enough. And I can see that I did that over here. So I'm going to turn on my overlay and I'm going to click on the erase tool, and I'm going to make my brush small, not that small, and I'm just going to try to undo it off of this area that's already bright, and so that I can kind of focus it under her eye right there. Let's turn off my overlay. Good, I think that looks better. Let's click back over to my A tool, and I'm gonna just do a little bit of that same right there. Okay, so that's really helped the under eye circles there. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in on her eyes. We're already zoomed in here. We're going to click New. I think her eye color is green, so we're going to go up here to eye color green right there, and I can come in a little bit further maybe, and I'm just going to brush this on her eyes just to make her eyes eye color a little bit more bold, and maybe even increase the brightness just a teeny bit. Okay, not the last thing, we're going to do a couple more things here. We're going to click New, and we're going to whiten her teeth a little bit. Teeth white and yellow, because yellow is what I notice most in this. That's why I'm going to choose the teeth white and yellow. And depending on how yellow the teeth are, sometimes you have to tone this down just a little bit. I think that's pretty good. We'll just leave that. And we're going to zoom back out just a little bit. One of the last things that I want to do here to this image, at least to her face, is I want to do a little bit of cloning to get rid of some acne and just to help even out her skin tone a little bit. So I'm gonna, and I have to reposition my things all the time, so I just reposition them when I want, where I want them. This, I'm not sure. I think this is just kind of muddy, maybe because it's a low resolution image. So I'm going to take and run my clone tool over it. And this may or may not work well for me. Let's see. Maybe do it twice. That does not look good. That looks like she's got a third nostril. We don't want that. Okay, and maybe on those two, I'm just going to reduce my opacity a little bit because I don't want to get rid of the definition there. I just want to make it look a little bit less muddy. So let's go down just a little bit more. Why are we getting a line right there? Okay. Now I'm going to smooth the skin. So let's go back over to our brush tool and let's just do skin smooth. Make my brush just a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to smooth lightly over her skin. And if I think it's a little bit too much, I'll just pull back up my clarity just a little bit, and maybe my sharpness. So now let's zoom out. I'm going to hide my pins for a second so you can see that. We're going to do one more thing. And here I'm just going to click New. We're going to go up here and I'm going to choose Colorful Background from my graduated filters. And then I am going to actually bump up the clarity a little bit extra here because I want to really emphasize the background here. It's an interesting background. I don't want it to detract from her, but I want to give it a little bit of extra pop. And we can do that with clarity. Clarity just helps kind of to bring up the mid-tone contrast, which is kind of a fun look. And that's a little bit hard to do with the straight graduated filter or even a radial filter, so I just chose to brush it on. We can click Done. I'm going to show you before and after so you can see the difference that we made to this photo. Now let's move on to the second photo here. We have this pretty portrait of this little girl. We're going to go through, let's turn off our before and after for a second. I'm going to click on some of the same presets I used for the other one. A quick clean, center light, contrast. Let's go down and choose, not down, vignette. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come and use some brushes on her face. So we are going to go into the brush tool. We're going to work on the eyes. So we're going to do eye color brown. Make my brush a bit smaller. And just brush the eye color brown over her eyes. It sharpens her eyes a little bit. It makes the brown pop and catches the catch light a little bit, which is pretty. Now let's come down. We're going to whiten the whites of her eyes just a little bit. So let's go down to Eyes Whiten. I use a pretty small brush for this, and we're just going to brush over the whites of her eyes. Like that. Perfect. Now, We're gonna brighten her skin and smooth it just a tiny bit. We don't have to do this a lot for her. She has beautiful skin already. But I do want to add a little bit of brightness, so we're going to do the brightness and smoothing at the same time. We're going to click on the Skin Smooth one. I'm going to pull the clarity back up a little bit. I'm going to just add just a little bit of exposure. I'm going to make my brush bigger. And I'm just going to brush it on her face here. Maybe down on her neck a little bit. I'm going to move this because I'm also going to brush a little bit down her arm. Even over these, over the flowers. Okay, very nice. One more thing we're going to do, since, you know, we always need to do one more thing, right? We're going to do the under eyes again for her. So let's go down here, let's click on under eye circles. I'm going to make my brush smaller because we don't have a lot of under eye circles here. It's just this little bit right here in the corners of her eyes. And there's actually a little bit of redness in there too. So I'm going to come over here, and in my color, I know that green will cancel out red. So I'm just going to click down here really, really low. I don't want it to be hardly any at all. Maybe 5% is good. I think that's fine. And then just make sure I got that. Perfect. Now I did play around with cloning out the purple flower that's on her face. And I decided that I didn't like the cloning there. And the reason is because in Lightroom it's kind of hard to create that line back in her chin. So I could clone it out and I could make it smooth and pretty, but I couldn't recreate that line of her chin, and so I decided to leave it. I think this looks really nice like it is. One other thing that you could do here, just for a little bit of fun, is click on Golden Glow. And that just adds a little bit of goldenness to this portrait. Let's look at the before and after. Such a pretty little girl. Such a pretty portrait of her too. So anyway, thank you for listening to this last Workflow Wednesday, and enjoy the rest of your day.